and welcome to another episode of the Modern Arroyo. I'm your host, Lisa O. We are in the fall season, so I wanted to introduce you to something that I created in partnership with my neighbors and local community, and it's a Northeast LA neighborhood guide. So this is the best in eat, play, stay, and shop in the Northeast Los Angeles area. So these are great places to eat, great places to experience and have a great time, great places to stay and maybe even go to the spa and have a wellness experience, and then also places to shop. And this includes local artisans and entrepreneurs who may even just sell online here in the Northeast LA area. This neighborhood guide was created from some of my favorite places and also some recommendations that I've gotten from neighbors in the community. So part of that guide is being able to introduce you to something new, someplace that you've never tried before. And I want you to experience Northeast LA in all its glory. I, as you know, am from Pasadena, and so I wanted to make sure everything wasn't too Pasadena centric. Although I love Pasadena and I feel like you can pretty much find everything here, I wanted to really make sure that this guide explored all of the Northeast LA area. So this includes neighborhoods like Atwater Village, Echo Park, Highland Park, Eagle Rock, Alhambra, and just all the areas in this northern part of Los Angeles County. You can find this guide at modernarroyo.com. It should be on the homepage, but you can also just search the Northeast LA Neighborhood Guide when you go to the website. So to give you guys an overview and kind of just a snapshot of what we have on this neighborhood guide, let's start with some of the great places to eat. So the first one on our list, what we have is called Pez Pasadena. So they have a location in downtown and they recently opened a coastal kitchen right here in Pasadena on Raymond. What I love about this one is that it is seafood focused. We don't have a ton of like seafood focused restaurants in Pasadena, so that's new for us. It is family friendly and they have a weekend brunch. And you know, ladies who love to brunch, this is a really great place to add to your list. The next on there is Bar Chalou, and I am a huge fan of French dining, and so when I saw that we had this eclectic French bistro right in the Pasadena district, I knew I had to add it to the list. It is a wonderful, cool little place to try. Everything you have there will be absolutely unique, so I definitely recommend it. Great for date nights and also for girls' nights out. There's another place that I wanted to recommend. It's called Spina, and this is in Atwater Village. It is a casual Italian dining restaurant. They have items like lobster linguine all the way to a great steak. So you pretty much can find anything that you can think of that would be on an Italian menu there. And they also have a full Italian wine menu as well. So it's a cool neighborhood spot. You'll feel like you're right in a movie at a place like this. Also Bar Seco. This is a daytime cafe and natural wine bar. Also, you'll feel like you're in a movie. Something about these neighborhood spots, I feel like this is like those prime places that you see on movies or TV shows when friends go out to eat. So this is one of those places you can stop by in the daytime for coffee or to do some work, and then you can come by after work and check out their natural wine bar selection, and they also have a specially curated list of foods as well. Definitely trendy. Another great spot I love is Forever. It is a Vietnamese restaurant, family owned. They're in Alhambra, and you're gonna get all of your classic Vietnamese dishes there. And I feel like the menu was full of flavor, and I also really like that they had a full selection of handcrafted drinks as well. So great food, really cool spot, and you know, I feel like you can't go wrong with a good pho place. Can't forget to mention Perry's Joint right here in Pasadena. They now have 2 locations, also in Sierra Madre, and these are probably going to be the best sandwiches you ever had. So great for lunch. They also have ice cream and hot dogs. Unforgettable food at Perry's. You will never forget a sandwich from Perry's. And if you go by there, you're probably gonna see Perry working behind the counter with a nice big smile. Next, we have Callisto Tea House. So this is owned by a friend of mine. Her name is Wendy, and she has a really cool tea house. And I think this might be the only tea cafe in Pasadena. She always has a great curated list of events happening every month. And you can always go by for a tea experience, so like afternoon tea, or what they have called the Gung Fu, which is a Chinese traditional tea experience as well. So next we have our playlist, and this is going to be a list of experiences or things to do in the Northeast LA area. So of course, you can't come to Pasadena without going to the Huntington Library and Museum. So this is an expansive botanical gardens. You can pretty much spend hours there. I usually, if I go with my kids, I bring food, a blanket, and we have a picnic in the middle of our walk. They also have a kids area, so of course it's family friendly. And they also have afternoon tea, and they also have a cafe as well. Next, we have the Los Feliz Flea Market. This is a huge flea market in Los Feliz, tons of vintage items, so like clothes, shoes, homeware. There's lots of art, homemade items. You pretty much can find some of the most unique treasures here. I really love this flea market. I'm a big flea market fan, so I really do like this one. And there's also food trucks and places to eat as well, so you can spend the afternoon here on the weekend. Highland Park Bowl, this is going to be an elevated bowling experience with a full bar. Enough said. Art Night Pasadena is coming up, so this is twice a year, and it happens in March, and we are in October, so it'll be happening this month. And this is where there are tons of art exhibits throughout the city of Pasadena that are free and open to the public to check out. There's also the Fall Festival Mercado, which is a family-friendly fall market in Highland Park. So that's gonna highlight local artists, local businesses, and just be like a nice family-friendly day out. There's the Victory Park Fall Festival, and this is their Fall Festival at Victory Park. There's a costume contest, carnival games, food and entertainment. There's also Descanso Gardens. Descanso is another beautiful botanical garden. This one is right in La Cañada, and they have their Enchanted experience, which means they transform their facilities in the evening with like this huge light display all throughout the garden. So there's music, there's light, so it creates like a whole new experience walking through the gardens. Melting Pot Food Tours, a really cool experience. If you want to do something new and different, you can check out their food tours around Pasadena. And so it's like a casual walk where you get to discover new places to eat around Pasadena. I do have Frogtown Flea Crawl on the list, but I am sad to say that I just saw that they are temporarily pausing their market to address some traffic, parking, and neighborhood concerns. So that one will come up again soon at some point. So just keep that on your list as something new to check out. If you haven't been to this area, it's a cool place to check out, especially just walking along the LA River. Another one is the Carroll Avenue Victorian Home. So if you didn't know, we have the highest concentration of Victorian homes here right in Echo Park. It is a historical landmark, and it's a really cool walk to check out. You can go there, look at the homes, and then walk back down to Sunset and grab something to eat. Probably stop at one of my favorites, Guisados. Oh, love their tacos. So I'm not gonna go through the full list with you guys because I definitely want you to check it out at modernarroyo.com. But one of the places I wanted to highlight from the shop list is Farazani's Market. So that's actually going to be one of the businesses that we feature in today's episode. It is right on Lincoln, right across the street from Muir pretty much. So you're at that Altadena-Pasadena border, and it used to be called the Semolina Pasta, if you remember, but now they have changed their name to Farazani's Market, and so it is a market. They have pastas, you can eat there, you can grab a sandwich, they have gelatos, but I got a chance to catch up with the owner and just hear about her journey of opening her business there, what made her change the name of the business, and just, again, local discoveries right in our neighborhood. So if you've driven along Lincoln, you can't can't miss it. Again, it's right across the street from Muir. Well, it's north of Muir across the street, but you really can't miss it. And, you know, I really want to make sure we are patronizing our local businesses. She is a Pasadena resident, and she wanted to bring her business here to support her family. And I think you'll really like hearing her journey as a mom and creating a business with kids and rediscovering herself. So come with me to check out Farazani's Market.
Hi, I'm Leah Farazani, the owner of Farazani's Pasta and Market in Pasadena, California. Here at Farazani's, we make both fresh and dried pasta for you to take home and cook. We also have delicious Italian sandwiches and sauces and spreads. We're always here to feed you. So while Farazani's is new, Semolina Artisanal Pasta has been here on Lincoln for 5 years. And I moved into this area first and foremost because I had a friend who owned the cafe that used to be behind me called Lincoln. It was a really great, wonderful community-oriented neighborhood. And then I really love that it's also proximate to home. I have a kid in school here in Pasadena, and it also allows me to be a member of the community in that way as well.
So Leah, thank you so much for taking the time to chat with me and tell us more about your business. So you said you had been here already for 5 years,
Yes.
And I know you've recently done a little bit of revamping. Can you tell me a little bit about that? So you started as Semolina, you're now Farazani's.
Yes.
What brought about that change?
Yes. First of all, thank you for having me. It's so nice to be here. And it's nice to see you. You're such a good assistant. I started Semolina Artisanal Pasta 9.5 years ago out of my laundry room when my kids were 1 and 2.
Okay.
And eventually evolved into a small pasta factory. We made pasta for Whole Foods and Bristol Farms and gourmet markets and cheese shops and restaurants and all that. And much of the design of the business was actually based on my family life. I wanted a food business that I could compact into daycare hours.
Oh, that makes sense.
Because I've always loved being in service. And so even my retail shop, I had very limited hours. It was when I was there. And Monday through Friday, we were closed on the weekends initially. Now my kids are 11 and 12.
Okay.
And that combined with recognizing that it was time to change format a little bit as far as our wholesale manufacturing went. It felt like it was
producing for all of those retailers from home.
No, by the time we had all those retailers, we were in this.
I was going to say, wow.
In a commercial environment.
Wow.
Yeah, so we had produced up to 175,000 pounds of dried pasta during COVID.
Wow.
Out of our tiny little space here in Pasadena.
So while some businesses were hurting, you were like,
we were growing because everybody was cooking from home. And we stabilized after life kind of returned a little bit to normal. But the world didn't stabilize.
Right.
Markets didn't stabilize. The cost of doing business didn't stabilize. And the mental stability of running that business didn't stabilize.
Right.
And so I've spent the last year really trying to think about the things.
Say bye.
You tell him. You saying bye? Are you saying bye? Bye. Yeah.
Come back, guys.
The last year I spent a lot of time thinking about what work-life balance looks like, what I love about what I do. And the thing that I love the most is feeding people and building community. And having the shop in its original iteration in Pasadena was giving me opportunities to create that, but we started evolving, and I think it was a little hard for people to follow along. That the little pasta factory now made sandwiches, and the little pasta factory now did these other things. And so what you see now as Farazani's is actually very much aligned with my original vision from 10 years ago.
It
would have
just
been
had to
impossible
take a natural evolution to get there.
To get there.
That's interesting. So, being new mom, as you can see,
Yeah.
I have a toddler, and you said you have a 10,
11 and a 12-year-old.
11 and 12-year-old. And so you started your business when they were 1. So they were very much like little babies.
Little babies.
When you decided to start the business. So what were you doing before, and what made you decide to do that transition, like right in the thick of it? Because you were definitely
I was in the thick of it. So I was a food and wine writer, and I worked for a wine. My main job was for a wine retailer as their writer and editor. I worked from home. I had tons of flexibility. I could do laundry in the middle of the day. For all intents and purposes, I had a really great job for being a working mother.
Right.
And a huge burst of creativity when my children were born, but also a real need for figuring out my identity as somebody other than their mom.
And having children will do that. It absolutely does that. That 1 to 2 year period, once you have kids, it's like you're having this awakening, this shifting, and you're like, okay, who I was before, I'm not that person anymore. And so it's like a rediscovery.
Yeah. There was a lot. I think there was a lot of that. And, I think some moms fully realize themselves, and being mom feels like that is the all-encompassing part. And for me, it was not that.
Right.
I love being my kid's mom, but I had always had a creative outlet, and I needed it. Crawling out of me. And so, trying to figure out how to balance those two drives.
Yes.
And I'd been in food and wine my entire life, and really love the act of service. I love feeding people. Yeah. It's been my love language since I was a little kid. And so I think it was natural for me to end up in food, but I actually knew nothing about pasta production when I started my business.
Interesting.
So I was really noticing as a mom, I was relying on my pantry a lot more and couldn't find certified organic dried pasta that was made in the States that was good. Everything was imported from Italy.
Right.
And I started doing some research. I found out that we export about half the durum wheat that we grow in the U.S. to Italy for them to make into pasta,
to ship it back.
To send back.
That's funny. Wow.
Felt rather ridiculous.
Yeah.
And so while I'm not a trained culinary professional, I love to cook. And I have always considered myself somebody who can hone a craft.
Yes.
And being a pasta maker felt like honing a craft, right? Something where like a ceramicist, you get your 10,000 hours and you kind of become one with the thing. And so it felt like a natural extension. I came downstairs while I was on maternity leave with my second, and I said to my husband, I'm like, I think I want to start a dried pasta business. And he's like, really? What do you know about that? And I was like, absolutely nothing. And he's like, you should do that then. And I was like, okay, I will.
Wow.
And I did.
Honestly, I feel like the best ideas are birthed out of just a place of just full creative freedom.
Yes.
Right.
And having a really supportive partner who especially at such a challenging time in our family life, who just was like, you do what makes you happy, right?
That's great.
And it's really fun to have that name up on the wall now, and get to share the Ferrazzani story in that way, because... And
is Ferrazzani, is that Italian?
It's Italian.
So you
and
have
it's
Italian background, or your husband?
My husband.
Okay.
I'm what we call an IBM. I'm Italian by marriage.
Ah, gotcha.
But I wanted to be Italian since I was 5. I grew up on Long Island in New York.
That's like me in French. I'm like, I'm French by association.
There you go. I mean, I think sometimes you really connect with the culture you're born with, and sometimes you have to search a little outside of yourself. And for me, it was a little bit outside of myself.
So I'm sure his family is thrilled then.
His family is thrilled, and it's been really fun helping his father in particular get to rediscover things that he hasn't had since he was or since he was a kid. So there's so many lovely connections for me, and this version of the business gets to kind of engage every single part of myself, because now I'm getting to connect with recipes that I like. I always loved to talk to people about cooking when they came into the store, but now I get to make some of those things for them. You can come in and you can have my biscotti, and you can come in and like recipes that I've been developing as like for the family for years.
And I like how you have it set up where you can kind of see the operation going as you're like shopping, and you can kind of see the very organic, homemade nature of everything that you're doing there. So you can see it's like done in house. That's great.
And I think it's really important. One of the things as a mom feeding kids, and just as an eater in general, is I want to feel connected to the food that I make. And it's why I love the farmers market. It's why I like to cook in the first place. I want to know what's in what I'm eating.
Right.
And so being able to give people that perspective and like, this is made here, right? Like, these are the people who are making your food, and it's not in some like factory somewhere that it's right here. That's awesome. So that makes it a lot of fun.
Yeah, I love that. So in terms of the business that you have now, so you evolved from just selling the dried pastas to now actually being a market, so you can purchase. Tell me about the menu that you have now.
So Ferrazani's is a pasta shop and market. So you can buy our fresh pastas, which used to only really be available at the restaurants that we made them for.
Okay.
You can buy those by weight, so you're also not limited to any predetermined portion. You can buy as much or as little as you need, which is great. So if you're feeding one person, if you're feeding one person, you can buy a quarter pound of pasta. If you're feeding 12 people, you can buy 3 pounds of pasta. And it makes it a little bit more flexible and accessible. And then we have sandwiches every day. They're unique and simple on Bub and Grandma's baguettes. We love supporting other local businesses whenever we can. And so we think that the Bub's family makes some of the best bread in the city. So Bub and Grandma's baguettes, and cheese from Gioia Cheese Company, which is based in Almonte. They're
so everything is local. That's great. That's great.
Our pistachios for our pistachio spread come from Santa Barbara. Our walnuts come from Northern California. But we're constantly like trying our best to both use local ingredients and highlight local producers whenever we can.
And California really is the place to do that, because everything is produced here in California.
It is. It makes it easy to do that.
Yeah. No, that's awesome. So what would you say is like your goal for the business, like in the next 5 years? Like, what are you hoping to see with your business?
Even just in the near future, we recently launched take and bake lasagnas and take and bake stuffed shells. Currently only available on Saturdays, but I just bought a freezer, so we should be able to have those more often. I think that the overarching goal is to feed more people and find more ways to feed more people. I love having people cook, and I love teaching people how to cook from scratch, but I also recognize we all have busy lives. And so finding ways to make life easier for other people, while still
mom life.
Mom life. Exactly. But like still being nourishing, right? Like,
exactly.
I want you to come in and get a lasagna, and like every single thing on the ingredient list is like, oh, this is like I made it at home. And so you feel good feeding that to your family, because that's what I need as a parent, right? Like I need to, of course. That's what I need as a parent. I need to know that the food that I'm feeding, if I'm not making every last bit of it, is still made
good
with whole food and quality ingredients, and it's good for the littles that I'm feeding and the bigs that I'm feeding too.
That's awesome. And so do you have anything exciting happening, like any promotions or anything that's going to be coming up in the next few months?
We're just trying to cycle in lots of new products. So I haven't really had any bandwidth to work on promotional things. We're a very small team. We have 4 people right now. I'm expanding to 6. I'm hiring a new pasta maker because my dear pasta maker is moving. So there's a lot of transition at the shop, obviously, also with the new format. So the next couple months, I think, is just finding ways to get our new products out and find new ways to feed people, and then lots of fun things down the line.
My husband and I, we went to Italy in 2019.
Mm-hmm.
And we got to we went to Rome, we went to Sorrento, Capri. We did
Lovely. Yeah.
It was really beautiful. And I have to say, that's probably one of the best cuisines I've had. Just eating over there, just anywhere you went, the local mom and pop place, everything was just so fresh. It just tasted so good.
So good.
So
fresh.
good.
I mean, I think the ethos of Italian food in general, right, is keep it simple.
Mm-hmm.
And it's all about the ingredients.
Yeah.
So if you start with really high quality foundational ingredients, you don't have to do things super complicated. Oh, there you go. You don't have to chef it up.
Right.
And that's for me as both as a home cook, but as somebody who's sharing that love of food with people when they walk through the door. It's all right, this is. Let me give you some garlic confit. We've already taken care of that, right? It's just poached in olive oil with a little bit of rosemary and arbol chili, and you take that garlic confit and you toss it with your pasta and some pasta water and a little lemon juice.
You can go home and feel like a little chef. I love it. I love it.
But not the version that's slaved over the stove.
Right.
There's a time and a place for Sunday sauce that gets cooked for hours and hours.
Yes.
But amatriciana takes 20 minutes.
Right.
Right? And it's a lot of bang for your buck in flavor, in, deliciousness, and so much easier to make.
I love it.
So, I like to share those things because as a working mom, I need dinner to be
quick,
ready most of the time, very quickly.
That is me. That is I. Yes.
And our fresh pasta cooks in 2 minutes.
Oh, that's great.
So it takes longer to boil the water.
Okay. Yeah, I love it.
Well, I appreciate your having me. Pasadena and Altadena are such a really special community. I love being a part of the neighborhood.
Yeah, I'm from Altadena, grew up literally just up Lincoln. My mom grew up here. She went to Muir, so we're locals. And I think that is what was really important to me about doing this show.
Yeah.
And just really highlighting, all the wonderful things we have here. I mean, our community in Pasadena and Altadena is just really, really great.
It
and
really is.
I think it's just nice to be able to showcase all that we have here.
Yeah,
I always tell people Pasadena is one of those places that you move to and you really don't have to go anywhere else because we pretty much have everything you need here. I know even growing up, I rarely ventured out to Pasadena because everything was here, and even now I'm there's so many places to go and try. You never really have to leave the city,
you don't. And then you have the gift of for me, I walk into the back parking lot and I just stare at the mountains during the golden hour.
It's beautiful.
And I'm just
yeah, it's beautiful.
So lovely.
Yeah, I couldn't live anywhere else. Yeah. Well, thank you so much, Leah, for giving us your time.
My pleasure.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for being such a good assistant. You did a very good job.
I made it. You just made it. Well, thank you guys so much for tuning in. Make sure to leave a comment or send me a message on where we should go next.